Yo, what's going on, everybody? My name's Cameron. I'm your host for the Goodbye Stars podcast, afternoon edition. Running a little late on the morning commute, so we're doing this on the back to home commute. But we have big things to talk about today. Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals between the Dallas Stars and the Edmonton Oilers at the American Airlines Center. Stars get their second home game of the series. And this is an interesting one. This will definitely be, I think, more of a tone setter for the rest of the series than that first game was, purely because of kind of how game one played out, where the Oilers kind of took it to the Stars for the first two periods, first 40 minutes, however you want to call it. Um, and then the Stars came out in the third and scored four, or not six unanswered, I guess. Um, so this will be, I think, unless we have another kind of crazy comeback, this will be more of a kind of look into how the rest of the series might play out. We don't have, I don't think, any updates on Calvin Pickard uh, over these past couple days, so it will be Stuart Skinner in net. Um, Ekholm won't be playing for the Oilers. They're still, I think, hoping for a game 3 or game 4 return for him. Um, Everyone for the Stars is still in. From everything that I've seen so far, it looks like the lines are going to be pretty similar compared to the first game. I don't hate it. The the second line of the Johnston, Robo, and Duchesne line didn't look stellar, if I'm being quite honest. I think they had two goals scored against them when they were on the ice. And Duchesne had that power play goal, but that was on the power play, so not on the 5-on-5 line. But I don't know. It's getting tough to say. Um, Robertson kind of he's had a while. I think he's played 7 games now, so he's had time to ramp up. So now it's kind of more of a question of, is he injured, or is there still something lingering? Mental wise, um, or what kind of is going on? Because this is our regular season leading goal scorer, 35 goals in the regular season, and he has 2 points, both of them being assists so far. I'm not I'm not super concerned yet. If we start losing, and then I think that's kind of when people start to turn on these guys who aren't producing. But I mean, he looks a little off. So a little concerning. Hopefully, he continues to get better, and it's not something where it's the injury itself holding him back, and it's more of the mental part of it. Um, but I guess we'll kind of just see. Maybe it's kind of something like Duchesne, where he just has to get one, and then he's on a roll. Um, and that's the other thing is will we see Duchesne kind of build off of last game's production, where he got that goal. I think that'll be a big question too. And then Johnston, who had a really good first series against the Avs, but has since kind of quieted down a little bit. So I still think that second line has a lot of questions to answer. Um, the first line last night played great. Rantanen, or not last night, sorry, game 1, just played great. Sorry. Um, Rantanen had that secondary assist, and that's really all they needed from him. And I think Hintz went without anything. And then Granlund had a goal and I think another assist to add to that. Granlund's goal, it was really nice. And I get, to Robertson's credit, he did have that screen on that play, which was a really nice screen. Um, so he's still making an impact, but the first line is still looking good. They definitely looked a lot better at game 1 than I think they had as a line, as a unit. Um, I think that was probably their best game since game 3 of the Jets series. They kind of proved me wrong a little bit. I was kind of starting to think, maybe do we throw Granlund on that second line and bring Robo up to the first line? But after thinking about it more, I just don't think you can really break these Finns up right now, especially while we're winning, while we're up, that kind of thing. The third line of Marshman, Steele, and Sagan looked really good. Sagan obviously had 2 goals and I don't know if he added an assist or not, but he had that breakaway goal obviously, um, and then he had that weird deflection bounce assist or goal on Steele's really nice play. I think Steele played a really good game in game one. I think he definitely proved that he should stay on that third line. He had a lot of hustle, basically played the game he's been playing all postseason, but and then he converted it into yet another point. So now he's on a bit of a point streak right now, 2 games. Um, so yeah, he's been playing well. Marshman, is I think we just kind of people have to accept that he's going to be more of a pest physical guy and probably isn't going to put up a 20 goal pace in the postseason like he did in the regular season. I think they just have to be okay with that. Same thing with Ben. He has 3 points, 1 goal, 2 assists. Has kind of taken that fourth line role, playing with back and Dadanov. That whole fourth line is kind of just. I mean, Dadanov has looked all right. He's you can tell he's hustling to the puck. He's forechecking good, but they can't finish. I mean, which you can't really expect him to his fourth line. They're Dadonov's playing with Ben and back, who aren't really, especially back, not really real offensive playmakers. Um, but just like the Oilers, you gotta find ways to score even on those bottom 2 lines. And then it looks like they're gonna run the same defensive lines as well, or defensive pairings, I guess. Um, which I like. I saw a lot of people saying that they should um, split Harley and Heiskanen up, and I definitely see it, and I think that that's something that if we lose one or two, and if McDavid and Drysdale are really burning guys like the Lindell pairing or the Bishop pairing, then I think maybe you throw Labushkin back up with Harley, and then maybe throw Heiskanen in with Lindell, and then have that third pairing of CC and Bishop. But that's kind of a tough ask for that bottom pairing as well. But it's kind of tough. It's with splitting them up and still making the pairings even. I think Lindell though is a capable enough defenseman. I know he got absolutely walked by McDavid in game one. Andre came up with a big save, but I think Lindell is good enough to hold his own and even make up for CC a little bit. CC looked pretty rough to start the game. He eventually kind of settled in. It felt like and was making some good plays. Um, but yeah, it's interesting because it feels like a lot of people forget about CC on the Oilers and how he was on that team that lost in 7 last year. He knows just as much as Rantanen would about the Avs. It's kind of interesting how people aren't really bringing that up much. I do think that CC adds a lot of value in that sense. He and hopefully he should continue to provide that information, that intel, and just kind of as a sense of hey, this is McDavid. I have defended him in practice probably a 1,000 times. And so in that case, I could even see him like playing on a pairing with Heiskanen and then just having them being the McDavid pairing. I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing ideas out there. The one big thing though that the Stars need to do is they need to play better at 5-on-5 to start the game. I really think that everyone is saying that the Oilers dominated them 5-on-5 throughout the entirety of the game, and it was just that 6-minute period that on the penalty kill that they got walked on. But it really looked like throughout that entire third period for I guess the 14 minutes that they weren't on the PK or the power play for the Stars. Sorry, that they looked very good on 5-on-5. They After they were up 4-3 or whatever, they were still applying pressure, and it resulted in that Sagan's second goal. So I don't necessarily think that that third period 5-on-5 was anything to kind of just throw out the window, or give to the Oilers even. But that the first two periods, and even the first half of the first period, I think the Stars played or matched the Oilers fairly well. The shots were close. They were getting their chances here and there. I think the Draisaitl goal probably tilts it Oilers, but it was really the second half of that first period, and then the second period was pretty ugly. Um, the big thing with the Stars is just their starts have been just, for whatever reason, really bad. They had the stat up on ESPN in game one, and it was the Stars had given up the first goal in 11 of 14 of their postseason games, which is nuts. It shouldn't be a winning formula, but for some reason it is. They don't score first very often, and I'm not sure why. It doesn't seem like a team that would lack the urgency like that game after game, but for whatever reason, they just come out seemingly flat a lot of the time. And I'm sure they're not actually coming out flat or unprepared or with a lack of urgency, but it just seems like the other teams are just down their throats very early to start the game. Outside of, what was it? Was it game one of the Jet series where the Stars were like out shooting them 9-0 or something like that? One of the games. That was like the only game I think that they have really come out way stronger than the other team, and so it'd be nice to see them do that, or at least to a degree tonight. As far as on a scale of 1 to 10, how important it is for each one of these teams to win tonight, I think they're both probably at the same scale after kind of thinking about it, weighing it. I think the Stars, I think they're both at a high 7, low 8. As far as the Stars go, it's big to go up 2-0. Everyone's gonna say, if they go up 2-0, this is just like what happened with the Kings series. But the last 4 times the Oilers have gone down 2-0, they have. I don't even know what just happened. The last 4 times the Oilers have gone down 2-0, they've lost 3 of them, and that fourth one was just the Kings being the Kings, being, I don't even know, choke artists, I guess. So it really is important to go up 2-0, especially in this postseason. How it seems like it goes back and forth every game. Being able to sweep at home those first 2 games is pretty important. That being said, though, if the Oilers do split the away games, it's not the biggest deal, I don't think. I mean, it's still this. They go to Edmonton 1-1. I don't think it'd be the biggest problem, and the Stars especially. They showed in the Jets series when they were the away team that taking a 1-1 series isn't the biggest deal. They still ended up winning. A little bit different situation, but the only reason I would move it up maybe to a low 8 is because of Ekholm and just how he is progressing from his injury. It looks like he'll be back sooner rather than later. So getting as many games before he comes back will be big. I think it'll be a very similar impact to how the Heiskanen return affected the Stars in the middle of that Jets series, where it gives him a big boost, as he continues to ramp up and whatnot. And then for the Oilers, same low or high 7, low 8. The only reason it's at that high 7 and not that low 8 is because they are a team that seemingly can just turn it on whenever they want to, or need to, I guess. If and they also are getting Ekholm back. Their power, or sorry, their penalty kill can really only go up from here on an abysmal 25% in game one. So it seems like things can only get better for the Oilers. Barring a blowout or anything like that tonight. But I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. It's Lindell's birthday today. Maybe he gets a couple goals. Maybe that'd be nice. But yeah, it'll be a fun one. I hope that for me the big guys that need to step up is Robo, um, Rantanen, who hasn't. I don't even know the last time he scored game 4 maybe of the Jets series. So I think Robo, Rantanen, and then if I had to pick a third, we'll go Lindell. Just for he really needs to step up. In that he probably is going to draw a lot of either of McDavid or Draisaitl minutes, so he needs to step up. Not saying he was bad in the first game, but you get the idea. And then for the Oilers, the big guys that need to step up, it's you want to immediately go to McDavid and Draisaitl, I think, but McDavid had I think 2 points, Draisaitl had 3, so it's not like they need to step up anymore. I would go, I guess, I'll go Perry. I think Corey Perry needs to, if they're gonna keep him on that first power play unit, he's got to do something. And the unit as a whole needs to do something, but him especially. So I think Perry, Skinner, obviously, I guess, needs to be better. He took a tough draw with the 3 almost consecutive penalties. That's obviously going to put a lot of pressure on a goalie. But even after that, there was a couple there where he kind of just looked lost. So Perry, Skinner, and then I guess I'll go with McDavid. He's got to put a puck in the net. He has I think 16 assists right now, and I think he has under 5 goals. So if this is how this series is going to play out, he's got to find a way to take over in more ways than just playmaking. He's got to do it himself here. So I'd say those 3. But that's going to do it for the I guess real pregame show on the Goodbye Morning Stars podcast. We'll see how the result turns out, and we'll talk about it tomorrow for sure. But yeah, peace.